Everyone knows the dwarves disappeared. No one knows why. In an effort to unravel that mystery, lacking the heart of a dead god, I'm substituting the crystal you helped craft in its place.
The Dwemer, a lost race of scholars, engineers, and gods in the making. For thousands of years, they have remained but a whisper in the ruins of Nern, all but one. Meet Nchurek, not a dark elf, but a Dwemer, one of the last true masters of tonal architecture, cast adrift through time, cursed to wander a world that no longer knows his people. In this build video, he will wield the forgotten knowledge, manipulate the fabric of time, and seek the ultimate truth of the Dwemer's disappearance. Welcome to the Tonal Architect. Nchurek was once a rising star among the Dwemer, a prodigy in tonal architecture and the esoteric study of time itself. He was chosen as an apprentice to Kagrenac, the High Engineer and Chief Tonal Architect, working alongside him on the grandest of projects, the construction of the Numidium, and the mastery of mythopoeic forces. He delved deep into the mysteries of tonal manipulation, working on ways to weave time itself into the fabric of Dwemer constructs, believing that through tonal architecture, one could unshackle reality from the whims of the divine. On a day of the Great Disappearance, Nchurek was hidden within the heart of a Dwemer facility, refining an experimental tonal resonance designed to stabilize time fluctuations caused by prolonged exposure to the Heart of Lorkhan. When Kagrenac struck the heart with the tools, a cataclysmic wave of tonal energy tore through the facility, shattering time and space itself. But Nchurek, standing in the centre of a protective field, was not destroyed. Instead, he was cast adrift, torn from Mundus, and hurled through the curtains of time. For Nchurek, it was but weeks of aimless drifting in the tides of eternity, his body untouched by age, his mind fraying at the edges from the relentless forces of the temporal maelstrom. He caught glimpses of strange futures, pasts unwritten, and a void between moments where things not meant to be whispered to him. Then, suddenly, he was cast out, slammed into the Third Era, weakened, his once immortal Dwemer physiology now subject to the relentless march of time. Emerging into the Third Era, Nchurek found himself mistaken for a Dwemer, his dark skin dulled, his features close enough to pass for one of his lost people's estranged cousins. He travelled across Morrowind desperately seeking traces of his kind, but found only ruins and echoes. The knowledge of Kagrenac's folly burned through the histories he uncovered, how his master had sought to make a god, how he had doomed their entire race. Worse still, the Heart of Lorkhan, the one artifact that could have held the answers, had been destroyed by the Lorerim in the Fourth Era. Centuries passed and Nchurek adapted. He took on false names, donned the guise of a Dwemer scholar and artificer, always moving, always searching. He buried his past deep beneath the layers of deception, for he knew the world would never trust a surviving Dwemer, if they even believed him at all. His once brilliant mind dulled by the slow decay of time, fought to reclaim lost knowledge. Now in the Fourth Era, Nchurek wanders Skyrim, drawn to its Dwemer ruins and the whispers of lost secrets buried beneath the ice and snow. He hears rumours of Blackreach, of the Tower of Mozark, and of the remnants of his people's genius still waiting to be uncovered. He seeks something, anything, that can explain why he alone was spared, and whether the Dwemer still exist somewhere beyond time, or if he is truly the last of his kind. He moves among the Dwemer and the Nords of Skyrim with careful steps, keeping his true identity a secret. He is wary of gods, of their meddling, of their lives. He watches the Thalmor with suspicion, knowing they too seek control of the fabric of creation. But deep in his heart, another fear lingers. The possibility that the Dwemer did not vanish, but instead ascended, and that he was left behind not by accident, but by design. And so, he searches. The world sees Nchurek as a Dwemer, but in truth, he is a Dwemer, a survivor of Kagrenac's folly. To remain hidden, he assumes the guise of a dark elf, allowing him to blend in among Morrowind's kin. So we start off with a Dwemer as our race, which you can also assume a remnant of his Dwemer physiology grants him protection from flames. With that 10% boost to destruction and conjuration, it enhances his command over tonal energy and constructs. For the birthstone we have gone with the mage, with a plus 150 magicka. His mind was expanded by centuries of knowledge. It also gives you plus 10% boost to all spells, making him formidable in spellcasting and in all schools of magic. Increasing to plus 20% when specialising, ideal for mastering the forgotten arts of tonal manipulation. Through Dwemer ingenuity, Nchurek can enhance enhancement beyond mortal limit, but his power comes at a cost, with the Soul Reaver trait. Plus 10% stronger enchantments, the result of his advanced tonal mastery, but minus 10% for weapon damage and armour rating, as his focus lies in magic, not steel. But a jack of all spells, knowledge is vast, but true mastery is rare. Nchurek wields magic with precision, but he does not struggle with the most powerful of spells either. With this trait we gain a boost to novice, apprentice and adept spells, ensuring versatility in combat and utility in magic. Expert and master spells are weakened, a consequence of his artificial approach to magic rather than divine inspiration. The Dwemer denied the gods, but upon his return to Tamriel, Nchurek found himself hunted by Hermaeus Mora, the Daedric prince of forbidden knowledge. And once Hermaeus Mora made contact with Nchurek, his promises of lost Dwemer secrets and answers about his people drew Nchurek to Mora's service, but only as a means to an end. Nchurek follows not as a believer, but as a seeker, using the Daedric prince's gifts as a means to uncover the truth of his people, and through Apocrypha he learns ancient spells, forbidden secrets, and even glimpses of time itself. Hermaeus Mora promises lost knowledge, answers to the Dwemer's fate, but at what cost? Time has forgotten him, and yet the world pulls him back. A Dwemer out of place, a scholar lost in the age of superstition and war, but Nchurek is no mere survivor. Fate has tethered him to Tamriel once more, bound by forces he struggles to comprehend. How he acts, the mind of a Dwemer. He's a calculated observer. Nchurek is no fool. He does not rush into conflict without reason. He sees the world as a puzzle, one that must be understood before it can be changed. He is detached from mortal concerns. He does not weep for the fallen, nor revel in victory. The petty squabbles of men and and beasts are distractions. He seeks knowledge, not glory, and he's a seeker of truth. Every ruin he explores, every ancient tome he deciphers brings him closer to understanding what truly happened to the Dwemer. He has no love for gods, no faith in myth. Though forced into Hermaeus Mora's grasp, he does not worship. He sees the Aedra and Daedra as anomalies, powers to be studied, not revered. He's a man of cold efficiency. He does not kill for sport, nor does he show mercy out of compassion. Every action is measured. Every decision is calculated. So for the factions and guilds and who he aligns with, The College of Winterhold is a necessary alliance. Magic is one of the few remnants of true knowledge in this primitive era. If he is to rediscover his people's legacy, the college will serve as a useful tool. As he joins, he gains access to knowledge, not out of loyalty, but necessity. He dismisses the superstitions of lesser mages, but he does respect those who seek to expand their understanding. He reluctantly accepts the title of Archmage, should he rise to power, not for the prestige, but for the control over the college's resources. With this in mind, you are free to make the choice on who you decide to make the Archmage. Exploring Dwemer ruins, he is a pilgrim of the last Dwemer. Every ruin is a whisper of the past, every machine a question. It's all left unanswered. He is drawn to every Dwemer ruin, seeking remnants of his lost people. He has no qualms of activating and destroying automatons, though it does sadden him, treating them as relics of a world that he once knew. Nchurek sees the Thieves' Guild and Dark Brotherhood as beneath him. Petty crime is a distraction. The assassination of kings and beggars alike serves no purpose but to satisfy the whims of fools. He has no interest in theft or murder for sport. He will only engage with a guild if it serves his quest for knowledge. For example, the Skeleton Key, and Nocturnal's insights into shadow magic. But that is for you to decide. For the Civil War, he is an outsider, and that is his perspective. Men and Mer fight over thrones made of dust. While time erodes, they all seek to claim. He sees no inherent value of the war, knowing that the Empire and Stormcloaks alike are temporary forces in an ever-changing world. However, he does fear stagnation. If the Empire crumbles, will knowledge and progress fall with it? He will only choose a side if forced, and even then, it will be out of cold logic, not ideology. If he must choose, he may lean towards the Empire, seeing their structure as more likely to preserve knowledge and stability. Again, the choice is yours. For the Dragonborn prophecy, a consequence of Dwemer science. The world calls him Dovahkiin, but Nchurek knows better. His soul is no gift of the god. The Dwemer sought to transcend morality, to alter their very essence of their being. Nchurek, whether by accident or by design, is an anomaly. A man whose soul has been rewritten by tonal manipulation. Perhaps, maybe even divine manipulation. To him, the voice is not divine, but scientific. The Thu'um is not a blessing, it is a manipulation of reality through sound, just as the Dwemer once shaped the world with their tonal architecture. His soul is not entirely his own. Could his altered essence explain why he survived where his people did not? Has he become something more, or perhaps something less? And he is a reluctant hero. He does not fight dragons out of duty, nor does he see himself as a saviour. But their power, their connection to time, that is worth exploring. A lost Dwemer, reborn in a world that should have forgotten him. A soul altered by the very science that erased his people. A mind that seeks knowledge, and a fate that demands answers. The world of mortals sees a Dragonborn, but Nchurek sees something else entirely. An experiment, unfinished. Nchurek is not a fragile scholar, nor a robed sorcerer hidden in the shadows. He is a battle mage of the Dwemer, clad in armour of his people, and wielding magic like a weapon of war. He wears dwarven armour not only as a symbol of his heritage, but as a necessity. His survival relies on resilience, not evasion. Unlike most mages, Nchurek does not fear battle. He walks into the fray, unleashing magic, while shrugging off steel and fire. Every piece of armour he wears is enchanted, enhancing his spellcasting and protecting him from the lesser races of Tamriel. And on that note, I'd like to mention that his armour is the armour you find during the Lost Ages questline, finding the ethereal shards. You can find the helmet, the boots, the armour, all in locations where ethereal fragments are found. For destruction, he sees it as tonal magic, and tonal magic as his weapon. Flames frost, and lightning are not just simple spells, they are the raw essence of tonal manipulation tearing at reality itself. Nchurek specialises in shock and fire magic, mimicking the destructive energies of the Dwemer automatons. Dual-casting destruction spells allows him to overwhelm his enemies, blasting through armour and resistances alike. And through bending time and space, alteration and restoration, using alteration to warp reality. Through forgotten Dwemer principles, Nchurek can bend the laws of time itself. He can use flesh spells to reinforce his armour, making him nearly unbreakable in combat. With the bend time spell, he can move between moments, acting before his enemies can even react. And magic resistance reduction allows him to tear down enemy defences, making them vulnerable to his power. And as the Dwemer rejected the divine, Nchurek understands that life must be maintained. He uses restoration magic to sustain himself in battle, not out of belief but out of necessity. Abilities like healing, wards, and even turn undead reinforce his survival, allowing him to fight through any battle. And when the mind is a weapon, he can fall back on illusion. Nchurek does not rely on trickery, but when necessary, he can bend perception itself. A well-placed calm or fear spell can turn the tide of battle before it even begins, and with his knowledge of time he can vanish from sight with invisibility, repositioning to strike from an unexpected angle or to flee the fight. And using conjuration, he can summon the past. He rarely calls upon the dead, but when he does, they are bound to his will. And you may even consider a bound weapon, as it may manifest in his hands in moments of desperation, an extension of his tonal mastery. And when pressed, he may summon Atronach, mimicking the energy that once powered his people's machines. He's a warrior of the past, a mage of lost knowledge, and a relic of the vanished race of Dwemer. The world has changed, but Nchurek has not. He walks the path of the Dwemer, forging his own destiny. His magic is not a gift from the gods, but it is a force of will, a weapon to bend the world to his command. Nchurek does not wield magic like the Ultima, nor fight like the Nords. His power is not born from tradition, but born from the lost science of the Dwemer. Each spell, each strike, each potion, an echo of knowledge his people once commanded. These are not mere skills, they are the instruments of a lost era. We've already covered his alteration. Flesh spells like Oak Flesh, Ebony Flesh, Dragon Hide enhances his already formidable dwarven armour, turning him into an impenetrable force. His magic resistance perks gains a deeper understanding of tonal magic, allowing him to dampen any enemy spells, reducing their effectiveness against him. And the Atronach perk, absorbing magicka from enemy spells, turning their attacks into fuel for his own power. And then paralysis and bend time. With the power to halt movement, he can bend time itself, forcing reality to move at his pace. Paralysis to freeze enemies, and even celestial cage to hold enemies in place. Destruction, his tonal warfare is unleashed. To the ignorant, destruction is chaos. To Nchurek, it's precision, the fine-tuned application of energy harnessed through sound and force. With shock and fire specialization, lightning to tear through mages, constructs and atronachs, fire to consume the wrecked. Both reflect the power of ancient Dwemer automatons. Augmented perks through fire and shock increases his spell damage, making his magic even more devastating. With the dual cast perk, he can cast spells with both hands, further enhancing his magic. And the impact perk, dual casting spells to stagger enemies, leaving them helpless before his might. Through preservation, not faith, he's also taken on restoration. The Dwemer did not pray, they did not beg for divine intervention. They endured, they adapted, and they survived. Using healing spells not out of faith but out of efficiency to keep himself alive. Wards such as Steadfast Ward or Greater Ward, not to worship but to counter enemy spellcasters. Power of the Mind to increase his magical regeneration. And lastly, Through mastery of restoration, he takes on the god form to maintain his magicka up at all times, never dwindling in a fight. And he is a living Dwemer relic himself, and as such, wears heavy armour. The mages of this age are weak. They hide behind robes, fearing steel and arrow alike. Nchurek does not hide. He stands unshaken. He takes all of the right side of the heavy armour tree and all of the left, being able to cast magic and sustain himself in battle if he should be hit before they get to him. Through alchemical transmutation, he is able to alter himself through alchemy. The Dwemer sought ascension. While others brew simple potions, Nchurek redefines what it means to be alive. Able to create fortified destruction and magical potions, enhancing his already devastating magic, regenerative elixirs, boosting his resilience far beyond mortal limitations, and the alteration of his physical self. There are perks within the alchemy tree which I consider getting to increase his own regeneration, to give himself night eye, and to increase his physical prowess in battle. And he also has poison mastery, should he need it, a scientific adaptation of decay, weakening his enemies before they even lift the blade. And he is a Dwemer artificer, smithing. Mortal smiths mimicked a Dwemer's craft, but Nchurek can restore it. With the dwarven smithing perk, the foundation of his work, ensuring that his armour and weapons are all superior to all others. And then the last perk for the endgame is legendary smithing. This is if you decide to continue past level 50 or level 60 with this build. I would recommend getting 100 smithing after all of the other perks and skills that we have mentioned in this build. A master of arcane and the physical, a warrior forged in the fires, the lost knowledge. With every spell, every strike, and every experiment, Nchurek walks the path of the Dwemer abandoned. But he will not share their fate. He will endure, he will evolve, and he will redefine existence itself. For combat and advanced strategies, Nchurek is an unstoppable force. The enemies of Nchurek do not fight him, they do not survive him. His knowledge has reshaped his various existence. His spells are no longer mere incantations, but an unrelenting force of destruction. He is not a battle mage nor a warlock, he is tonal perfection, and those who stand before him are nothing more than experiment. For him, combat is not a contest, it is a demonstration of superiority. Eliminate weakness immediately. Enemies will not have a chance to resist. Their magic defences, armour and fortifications will be stripped away before the real attack even begins. There is no wasted movement. Every spell is either an attack, debilitation, or reinforcement of his own power. He does not cast for show, he casts for efficiency. And through controlling time, he controls the battle. By altering time itself, Nchurek dictates the pace of every fight, ensuring that enemies cannot react before they are annihilated. Opening moves and preparations and precasting. Ocato's Recital is his unseen hand, auto-casting visions of opportunity to weaken both armour and magic resistance in a massive radius, ensuring no one can withstand his attack. Along with this, auto-casting greater fortify attributes and tree rings, boosting every aspect of his being, health, stamina, magicka, and an extra added layer of health on top. This will skyrocket his stats into the stratosphere. The moment combat begins, he alters reality, with Sophie's Maelstrom, a master alteration spell, further weakening enemy magic resistance, making them helpless before his power. Godform, his final transformation, an infinite pool of magicka, never running dry. And bending time itself, the ultimate advantage. Time slows, allowing him to rain death upon his enemies before they can even react. The core of his destruction, he uses all forms of magic, predominantly ray magic. Ray of lightning, a piercing beam of electricity obliterating foes before they can even lift a shield. The ray of fire incinerates everything in its path, reducing them to nothing but cinders. Ray of frost, to slow and freeze enemies solid, leaving them defenseless. And then Cascading Torment, his greatest weapon. Absorbing health while dealing lightning damage, his enemy's life force fuels him, making him an unstoppable force. Shattering bodies upon death, no corpses remain, only fragments. The perfect fusion of destruction and preservation. He feeds off his enemies while annihilating them. As aforementioned, we've said Godform already, but also casting without consequence. No spell is beyond his reach, no ability is beyond his limit. He becomes an unrelenting force of nature. No longer a battle mage, but a living embodiment of arcane supremacy. He does not fight, he does not struggle, he demonstrates. Magic is not learned, it is understood. And those who do not understand, they are simply erased. Thank you so much everybody for watching this video on the Tonal Architect, and hopefully you enjoyed it just as much as I have building this and also playing this. It was really good fun, especially if you like mage characters, and also I think this is probably one of the best builds I have made on the channel thus far. But yeah, if you like this kind of content, please do like and subscribe. Please do comment down below what you think in the description, and also just let me know what builds that you'd like to see in the future as well. I am working on a lot of things at the moment when I've got the time, but hopefully going forward, then as the channel grows, I'll have more time to do these build videos for you guys. So it's important to me that you guys are enjoying these videos and also get more subscribers. But thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Bye.